left over. But what happened to me in 2008 was this process called, I'm going to use a business term, disintermediation. Can you write that in the chat for me? Just write that in the chat. Disintermediation. And what was happening is I was paid a certain way to make a profit and to provide a service. Much like you're providing a service as a decorator, as a designer, as a home stager. You are being paid to provide a service. But what happens when the people who are paying you to provide that service all of a sudden look around and they're like, I don't know if we need you anymore. Do we need you? Maybe I'll just do that myself. Or instead of paying you to execute the project, all of a sudden they're looking at you and they're saying, whoa, I don't know. I think maybe that's not necessary for me. Or maybe it's like how Airbnb disrupted the hotel industry, or like Uber disrupted the taxi industry. All of a sudden, what you do feels obsolete. Well, that's where I was. And so in 2008, I spent 5 years underneath my house in the basement, racking my brain, trying to figure this out. I want you to ask yourself this question. Have you ever been in that place where you're looking around your industry and you're like, I have to figure out a different way to do this? Because if I don't, either I'm going to collapse, my industry's going to collapse, and I'm going to wake up one day and it's not going to work anymore. That's where I was. So in 2008, I want you to get this picture. I'm under the house and I'm like, there has to be a better way. So guess what I did? I'm like, I know. Let's build a team. We're like service-based entrepreneurs. Anybody who's got like a design studio, or maybe you're a physical therapist and you've got a clinic and you're like, I know, we'll just hire more people. How's that working out? Right? Cumbersome teams, payroll taxes, all the things you didn't know that you didn't know that you didn't want to know. All those things start to come up and you're like, I was making this. I thought I'd build a team, and now I'm making this, and I've got 5, 10, 15 people dependent upon me for their livelihood. I was like, this is not going to work. So I spent a lot of time like banging my head against the wall. And maybe like you're looking at the horizon and you're thinking, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know I have to figure something else out. So today I want to take a little bit of time and just share with you the exact system that I developed to help me and my clients shift our business models so that we could take our expertise. Just like you have an expertise, you have life experience, you have something that the world needs. The problem is it's just not in a container right now that we can actually package it up and transact, especially in the online space. So that's what we're going to talk about today. All right, I have a little I don't know what you want to call it. It's a game. So let me ask you a question. Do you have a cup of coffee or maybe a glass? No, this is not wine. This is seltzer water and apple cider vinegar. I too am trying to get healthier. So I want to know if you have like a cup in front of you, you have a mug or a little glass in front of you, something. I want you to pick it up because we're actually going to do an exercise. Okay. Because this was one of the biggest mindset shifts that I had to make. And then we'll get into the system. So stay with me, guys. So pick up your coffee cup. Now, right now, what we're going to train on is helping you take your expertise, your experience as a service-based entrepreneur, and we're going to help you make a really nice container that is super easy for your clients near and far to transact and engage with you. We're basically going to take all of that secret sauce, that signature sound, all the good stuff that you do intuitively, the stuff that you have spent the past 5, 10, 15, maybe even 20 or 25 years or more doing, that right now isn't in a package or isn't in a form where we can take it and easily transact it to people who aren't your one-on-one clients. Does that make sense? Let me know in the chat. We have this thing in our trainings. 1 if yes, 2 if no. 1 if yes, 2 if no. Okay. So that's the goal of what we're going to talk about today. Now, look in the cup. Can you imagine if somebody came to you and they were trying to figure out how to do what you do or how to engage in your services, but you didn't have an online information product? Can you imagine if you didn't have an online course and an online business? The coffee, your skill set, your fabulous expertise would just be spilled all over the desk. And how would they engage it? It wouldn't be easy for them, and it would be a mess for you. So that's why I'm so passionate about it. One of the best examples I can give is we're going to package up what you carry, and we're going to put it into either a wonderful hot cup of coffee or a hot cup of tea or a glass of refreshing ice cold water, so that your clients, the people that you are called to serve, can actually engage you easily. Now, here's the thing. Nobody can do that but you. Nobody can do this part except you. We have a saying, I am the content. So say that with me. Just say, I am the content, right? You have a unique signature fingerprint. You have a unique signature sound. And that's what we want to get at. So over the course of these next couple of trainings, we're going to unpack 3 very simple things. This is my give to you. Why? Because I'm looking around right now and I'm seeing chaos similar to what I saw in 2008. And I don't want it to take you 5 years. So let me share with you how I finally broke through in 5. It took me 5 years to figure this thing out. I'm like, I got this. I got this. I'm a successful designer. So maybe like you, you're like, I got this, Ann. I've been doing branding for 15 years. I've been doing, physical therapy for 15 years. You're like, Ann, I've been getting kids into college on sports. Like I've been consulting with parents and athletes for 25 years. I got this. Here's the thing. Humility knows when we don't know what we don't know. And I thought in 2008, I got this. I've been at it. My husband and I, we lived and worked in New York City proper twice. Our oldest son was born there. We lived and worked in Beverly Hills. Like I was in the interior design industry in New York City proper, Beverly Hills, the San Francisco Bay Area. And we retired early 4 years ago to Lake Tahoe. I was like, I got it. I didn't got it. So that's what I want to give to you today. All right, so let's start. Let me know in the chat if we're doing okay. I want to hear from you. I want to know what your industry is. What is your service-based business? Are you a home organizer? Are you a dentist? Are you a nurse? Do you own a spa? Are you a designer? Are you a decorator? Are you someone who just has an idea for a service-based business? Are you a jewelry manufacturer? What is your signature service? Now, inside of that signature service, you have a way about you. You have a way that you show up on the scene when you're working with your one-on-one clients. And that's what we want to get at. So get out a pen, piece of paper, pencil, tablet, notepad, whatever it is that you use to take notes. And I want you to write down 3 letters. Okay? This is the system that I first developed to get a hold of creating a fabulous, easy to engage container so that my non-one-on-one clients, all the people on the other side of that camera, that computer, all the people on the other side of your cell phone, all the other people on the other side of your website that presently aren't engaging you, will learn to engage you. All right. So I want you to write A, T, M, right? Say that out loud, just write ATM, all right? While you're writing that, I'm going to take a sip of coffee. Awesome. All right, so in this first video, we're going to do a whole series of these for you guys because I want to give you something to help you get started. When I first started in the online space, I was afraid to watch trainings. I thought the whole thing was icky, okay? Remember, I came out of the luxury interior design industry where everything was gated and guarded, okay? Our clientele was a very specific clientele. So maybe like you're like, I don't know about this like online internet business type thing. Like, I'm not okay with this, or it feels really uncomfortable. Okay, let me know if you've ever been in that space. You're like, you feel like you're about to buy something or engage with something, you're like, ugh. And now you're listening to this and I'm telling you, you're going to have an online business. You're going to have an online place where people who don't know you yet are going to be able to engage with you and get a wonderful warm cup of coffee or a wonderful warm cup of tea or an ice cold glass of water because you have done the work to put your system into place. Okay. So one of the biggest mindset shifts I had to tackle was that it wasn't icky. Okay. How many of you have ever felt that way? Let me know. Right. So there is a verse. I'm a Bible believing, tongue talking woman. And one of the things that I had to come to grips with was, how do I reconcile this feeling of the internet feels icky with a call on my life? If you are a service-based business owner, you're a service-based entrepreneur, I know you've felt the call on your life because you've likely sacrificed time, family, friendships to bring your services to people that you care about, your clients. I want you to think of a client right now that you've worked with where you actually worked for way less money and way more time than you should have gotten paid or made in trade. Can you think of at least one client where you gave way more than they paid you for? Because that's your heart, right? That's your heart to show up and to do an excellent job. So if you got one client you can think of, you're like, yeah, I did that. I used to do that too. It's like, yeah, I gave way too much to that client. Now, is there a second client? Maybe it was a friend or a family member, or it was someone at the local church and you're like, no problem, I have this skill set and I'm going to go ahead and give it to you for free. Anybody? Can I tell you how many churches I decorated, how many tables I set, right? It's like the local church or the local ministry or whatever calls and you're like, I'm all in. I'll help. Okay. So service-based entrepreneur, I know you have a heart that is designed by God himself to serve and to bring your gift and your talents to the world. But here's what happens. If you are the content, just say this, I am the content. Just say this. I know it may sound silly. And yes, we're going to do a little talk back. We're going to do a little bit of this interactive stuff because I love to teach with play and humor and joy because it is way too serious out there. Okay. And God himself, he says, he who sits in the heavens laughs. So let's have some fun, even in the midst. Okay. So I want you to pick up your coffee cup, pick up your glass, and imagine instead of having this cup, which is your system that you can graciously hand to someone in an honorable and ethical transaction, you didn't have it. And all of a sudden, the only thing you have is yourself. And you're like, you're giving away pieces of yourself to your clients. That's what it looks like when we haven't taken the time to steward what we carry. Okay. So do you guys have the ATMs written down? ATM? All right. So this is what we're going to do. Just say this. I'm worthy to be a city on a hill. That's the thing that God finally got through to me on. He's like, Ann, I'm not asking you to give chunks of your body away, right? Chunks of your mindset away, chunks of your skill set away. I'm not asking you to do that. I'm not asking you to completely deplete yourself as a designer so you have nothing left. I'm asking you to sit and to let your light shine, let your skill set shine in such a way that all of the people that you are called to serve as a designer, all of the people that you, friend, are called to serve as a producer, a nurse, a designer, an athletic consultant, a coach, a trainer, a branding specialist, all of the people that you are called to serve can actually just have a lovely cup of coffee and they can engage it on their time and on their terms, okay? But the first thing that you and I have to do is the letter A. So write this down. We have to account. Ooh, small business owners, do we like that word? Account. I'm going to use it. It's like the days when you have to meet with your accountant. I want those to be happy days for you. Okay. So we're going to account for our ability. Write that down. Account for our ability. That's the first thing that we have to do. Account, write it down, write it in the chat. I will account for my ability. All right, let me ask you a question. How many of you have ever been in a situation where somebody's like, what do you do? And you're like, blah, 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 I don't know. You don't have language for it. What about this one? Have you ever been in a situation where somebody's like, you're amazing. And you're like, nah, I haven't really done that much. Anybody? And we falsely call it humility, but it's actually not humility. It's actually a lack of stewardship. Okay? It's actually a lack of stewardship. So here's what I want to encourage you with. We're going to do a little exercise right now to account for your ability. Patrick, my husband, and I have this thing. We call it the truth tank. Okay? How many of you have ever heard me talk about the truth tank? The truth tank, we used to call it the trivia tank. Way back in the day when Patrick and I first started training on this together, we have a program called the Info to Income Group, where we actually train people and we run them through how to take the information and the expertise and all of that on their life. And we run them through a program, and it's like how to take your information and turn it into income. I'm not going to talk about that right now, but what I want to share with you is when we first started the Info to Income Group, we're like the trivia tank. And I think it was like in the first month, we're like, it's not the trivia tank, team. It's the truth tank. Okay. So here's an exercise that I want you to do. Now, we don't have time to unpack all of this today, but I want you to do this. And this is one of the most light bulb moments for our clients. We're going to account for your ability. I want you to take that piece of paper and I want you to write down every single thing that it has cost you in time, money, and relationships, and maybe personal pain, personal breakthrough to get to where you are today as the service-based entrepreneur that you are. How much did your college cost? How much did your trade education cost? How much do your licenses cost every year? Like in interior design, we would have to renew licenses and join programs and have continuing education. How much has it cost you in time and talent and treasure to get to where you are right now today as the service-based expert? If you're in production, how much was that camera that you paid for? Okay. This is what we start to look at when we account for our ability. Let me know in the chat if this is resonating with you, because sometimes we're like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. What I do, it's not that big of a deal. And that's when we start giving stuff away for free. And instead of creating this beautiful package that we can then put in the online space to increase our authority, right? Increase authority, and to actually monetize and to multiply ourselves, what happens is we have nothing because we haven't accounted for our ability. And that's where I was. 2008 to 2013. I was too ashamed to put it down. I was like, yeah, but I'm not this. And God was like, Ann, but you are this. Okay. How many of you have heard this phrase? Comparison is a thief to joy. Okay. Comparison is a thief to joy. So the first thing we do is we learn to account for our ability. Now, you may, like I, have one of two reactions when you start to do this. You may either get really mad, and I'm going to share a funny story with you in just a minute, or you may start to weep. Okay. I've done both, right? I've done both. Once you start to put this stuff down, you get this, it's like a holy anger. And it's like at them, the system, the they who's told you can't do it, all the lies that they told you, all the lies that our own mindset tells us. Or you're like in this place where like, did I just waste 20 years? And I would go back and forth between these two things. So I want to tell you a funny story. All right. Now, you may be a God-fearing, right, spirit-filled, tongue-talking. I have a pastor friend. He's like, "Are you a tongue-talking, meeting-going, all this kind of stuff believer?" You may be that. However, that's what I am. However, I had a season where I was really angry. Okay, and I was angry because I didn't know how to get out of this loop. I knew intuitively I had to leverage the online space. Just like you have this skill set and intuitively, and I have tried this before. I know I have to get something online, but I don't know how to do it. It doesn't work. That's where I was until I started to learn to account for my ability. So I'm going to paint a picture for you here. I'm under the house in a basement, in like a walkout basement. It is like, the insulation, you guys know the pink insulation stuff. Do you guys have that in your house? Okay. So the pink insulation is in the unsheetrocked ceiling, in the unsheetrocked walls. Okay. How many of you have ever worked in a really ugly space and you're like, I'm just going to make it work. I'm going to try to get this thing to work. So I'm underneath the house. And you have to remember, I'm a luxury interior designer and I'm trying to carve out for myself. I have a studio in a different location, but I'm like, I have to figure this online thing out. So I'm underneath the house. And next to me, not too far away, is an unfinished, now no judgment, okay? The T, just telling you, I'll give you a sneak peek. The T stands for tell the truth. Teach from truth. Okay, so I'm underneath the house. I want you to picture yourself in like the ugliest office you've ever been in, where you're like, this is not bringing my best self out. And I would go on and I would try to stream and I would try to record things and all this kind of stuff. And we had an unfinished bathroom that was plumbed. Now, any plumbers, any trades here, you know what I'm talking about, but it wasn't finished. So it was roughed out. So anytime anybody used like the sink or the kitchen or the restrooms upstairs, you would hear it. So I would be live or trying to record something like I'm live right now. And you'd hear this. Whoosh. And I would just be like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. So in that setting, as I'm trying to account for my ability and do all of these things, my lovely husband comes down who doesn't understand what I'm trying to do. And he has in his hand an American Express bill. Only his American Express bill is highlighted. Now, my husband is a very generous man, but he's also very mindful of numbers. So he comes down and he comes down with this highlighted American Express bill. And he's like, what is this? And what is this? And what is this? And what is this? So how many of you have ever struggled against the financial aspect of what you're trying to build in the online space? Well, that's where I was. Okay. So what did I do? Was I joyful and lovely and laughing and like, oh, ha, ha. Well, that's Camtasia and that's EverWebinar and that's this and that's that. And I promise you, the hundreds of thousands of dollars that I have invested cash out the door in this will someday pay off. No, I did not do that. For whatever reason, I had a set of keys, like a big old set of keys on my desk. So you guys have to understand, my dad was drafted into the minors in baseball for the St. Louis Cardinals way back in the day. So I knew how to throw. I'm the youngest of 5 girls. My dad was a big sports guy, so I knew how to throw. So I picked up these keys on the desk and I hurled them at my lovely husband. Now, in that moment, my husband, who also an athlete, football player, holds up his hand, catches the keys, catches them. So in that moment, I made a split decision to laugh instead of get more angry. And that's what broke it for me. Because I had done and was doing the work of accounting and taking personal responsibility. Say, I will take personal responsibility. Just say that I will take personal responsibility for my skill set that God has given to me. So I burst into laughter and the tension broke. It all went away. And I love a truck just went by. So we call that testifying. In that moment, how many of you have had those moments where maybe it didn't go that way? Maybe it got worse. Okay. So one of the things that's going to help you in this season, when everything around us is shaking, when everything around us is chaotic, is sitting down and actually accounting for your ability. Okay. As a service-based entrepreneur, I believe that you are on the front lines of humanity, that you are in the homes, you're in the spaces and places. As a designer, a decorator, I was invited into some of the most intimate places in my clients' lives. And you, as a branding specialist, as a producer, as a nurse, as a plumber, as a handyman, as an athletic coach, maybe trying to help, and we work with a lot of people in the athletic space, consultants who are helping people to either get drafted professionally, or they're helping parents navigate the process to get scholarships for their kids. We work with a lot of designers. We work with a lot of coaches and consultants. You're in these spaces and places where people's souls are very vulnerable. And so one of the most important things that you're going to do in order to prosper online effectively, say prosper effectively, write it in the chat, I will prosper effectively, is to actually account for your real ability. So once I started to do that, I was like, okay, all right, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to address this from a place of truth. So that's what I want to encourage you to do today. Service-based entrepreneur. Let's sit down and account for everything it has cost you to get to this place. Okay. And then in the next training, in the next pop-up, we're actually going to take that information and we're going to put it into a format that's called training from truth, teaching from truth. I'm going to leave you with this saying, we can only give away what we possess. Just say that with me. We can only give away what we possess. And if you, like back in the day as a service-based entrepreneur, I was giving stuff away for free. But then all of a sudden you look and you're like, I don't have anything left. But if instead you'll learn to use our ATMs method, right? I'll talk to you about the T's and the M's, but for right now, we got to get a hold of this first one. We have to actually account for your ability and step into the mindset that what you carry is valuable, and we can make it into this beautiful, elegant, easy to transact container that we can actually share with people. So that our clients and friends and people that we haven't even met yet don't have to try to figure out how to gather up the coffee of our lives or the water off the floor in a non-easy to engage container. This is your first act of service, accounting for your ability. What does it cost you to get here and to be here today? Okay. So if you have questions, let us know. We're happy to tackle questions in the chat, but that's what I wanted to share with you today. You are worthy to account for your ability. All right, guys. We love you. We will be back with more free trainings. Right? Does anybody have any questions that I can answer right now? Awesome. Real life, right? You are worthy to be a city on a hill and account for your ability. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, that's it for today. We will be back on with more. Thank you, Juliandra. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, everybody in the Facebook groups who's been watching. It is my desire to serve you guys really well so that you can go out and be cities on a hill in your industry. All right. All right. Thanks, guys.